Welcome, everybody out there, to another episode of Don't Pick the Scab podcast, where we focus on helping men, my men over 40, with their healing struggles during and after divorce. Today, we have Matt O'Neill on the show. His superpower is being the happiness expert. And just talking with Matt, he's more than that, way more than that. So I'm excited to get him on the show. He's the host of his own podcast, Good Mood Revolution, and author of the book of Good Mood Revolution. We'll talk about that too. Welcome to the Don't Pick the Scab podcast, with the premise of connecting men over 40 with the tools and community to thrive in their divorce recovery, either before, during, or after a divorce. I think Matt can help my listeners in their divorce recovery journey. I always say that happiness is not overrated. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Matt. We'll go from there.
David, man, I am so freaking jacked to be on this. But you are just immediately, I'm like, oh, you're like such a fun, jovial, happy guy to be around. And that's my wheelhouse, man. I know that happiness is like it's what we all want, man. We all want happiness. Yep. Everything we're doing is striving to be happy. And then when something disrupts our happiness, like a divorce, oh man, it could put us into a huge tailspin of anxiety and despair and guilt and shame and all these negative emotions. And I was really, really excited to talk to this audience, to talk to the person that's going through this challenge and trial in their life, because what I teach is that happiness is a choice, regardless of what's going on in your life, in the external life, that happiness comes from an internal choice. And we make that choice by examining our beliefs and understanding our beliefs and how those then create our moods and then correcting all of that.
Wow. So we talk about choosing happiness. How do you physically or mentally choose happiness? What's the steps, or how do you go down that rabbit hole?
Well, the first step is to notice that we're actually choosing every emotion that we're experiencing. We don't know it. So happiness is a skill. We are already creating every emotion we experience ourselves, either with a conscious choice or a subconscious choice. A lot of times when we're not happy, it's subconscious. We don't realize that our beliefs are creating a world of suffering for us. Mm-hmm. And then we're just in a world of suffering. If we don't know that we're creating it, then we'll go into victim mode and we'll start to blame the other person. It's her fault. That's the reason, she did this to me. And that blame game isn't going to make us happy, but it's an easy go-to when we don't understand why we're feeling the way we're feeling. But if we can get to the point to recognize that, hey, everything I experience is internal, like everything I experience is within me. The outside world, what I choose to interpret about the outside world, that creates my internal experience, and happiness is an internal feeling. So I am the one in control of if I'm feeling happy or if I'm not feeling happy. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. This is not easy at all. In my book, Good Mood Revolution, I talk about the 8 primary bad moods that get in the way of our happiness. And there are 8. There's only 8 primary bad moods that get in the way of our happiness.
Let's go and go down that rabbit hole. Come on, let's go.
Let's go, man. Well, hey, dude, divorce hits on 6 of them pretty hard. So the most destructive bad mood is a feeling of rejection. It's shame. It's I'm not lovable. I'm rejectable. So when we're going through divorce, there's a lot of rejection, right? And then that can lead to a lot of shame. This feeling that there's something wrong with me. Of course this happened. Of course, these are subconscious beliefs that usually are programmed in childhood, usually from traumatic experiences that happen. And when something bad happens, we look at ourselves and we say, I must be flawed. There must be something wrong with me for this to happen. Well, shame is not a truth. It's never a truth. We're always lovable. No matter what happens in life, no matter how bad we've been, what destructive decisions we've made, we, at our core, at our essence, we are still lovable. So this emotion of shame will wreak havoc on our happiness. It's really impossible to think we're unlovable and have a happy life at the same time. So we've got to heal that one. The healing of shame comes from uprooting the root belief that, like, we have to admit, hey, I really do feel unworthy of love right now. And then it's affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
In our head, we're saying over and over again, I'm not lovable. Maybe not in those exact words, but I'm a mess up. I always make things wrong. Whatever those words are, we've got to start saying the right words, which is, I'm fully worthy of love. I've always been cared for. I've always been guided. I've always been protected. So it's going to be through positive affirmations that we're going to undo that negative affirmation of shame.
Wow. All right, keep going down. So that's one. Or is that two?
That's one.
Two.
That's one,
That's
man.
one. All right, keep going.
Yeah, the next one is going to be probably the next most destructive emotion that we go through as we go through a divorce, and that's guilt and judgment. Guilt and judgment are two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
Guilt says, I've messed up and I deserve to be punished, or I've messed up and I deserve bad things. So maybe we've messed up in our marriage. All of us have. Maybe we said some things that made the other person cry. All of us have. And then we want to punish ourselves more and think that'll make us better, right? Or we externalize our guilt. We don't like ourselves because of what we've done wrong, but because we don't want to deal with that, we just push it onto the other person and we judge them and we say, you're wrong. You said that stupid thing. You made me feel awful. Both of these are the exact same emotion and they both are destroying our happiness. So this is just a normal human emotion. Everyone judges and has guilt. We all do. But to heal it, we have to start saying everything that's right, everything we're doing right. So what I do is a real simple exercise. I do it every day. I write down 3 things I did right the day before. Every day, I just write down 3 simple things. What did I do right yesterday? My mind is going to tell me all the things I did wrong, but I'm going to tell myself, I actually did 3 things right yesterday. What happens over time when we start to talk about all we're doing right is we start to notice what we're doing right in the moment. And then we start to notice what other people are doing right in the moment. Maybe if we get really good at this, we start to notice what our ex is doing right in the moment. And so rather than trashing them about they did this and they did that, we're like, man, actually, I think it was pretty cool the way that you talked to the kids about taking responsibility the other day. Like, that was really cool. Man, if we could authentically get to that point, happiness is like going to be a guarantee. Now, I'm not saying that's easy to do. I'm just saying this is one of the things that's going to get in the way, is that judgment.
That's 2. Roll. Come on, give it to me.
Yeah, the next one that's going to hit us is just overwhelm. Like, overwhelm, this feeling of hopelessness. Sometimes, like, this is so big. Everything I've ever known is tied up in this relationship. How do I even go? Like, my friends are friends with her, like, how am I going to deal with the kids, and when are we going to see each other? It could just be an overwhelming decision. And in that overwhelm, we can start to feel just like hopeless. Like, my life will never be as happy as it was. And that this is not a truth, but it is a normal emotion to think that, my past is as good as it got and it's never going to be bright again.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's, again, if you're stuck in that thought pattern, I've certainly been stuck in a thought pattern where I thought my future wasn't going to be as bright as my past. And I felt totally hopeless. And you even start to get like self-destructive thoughts. Like, I was driving down the street and I'm like, man, I don't care if I get in a car crash right now.
Yep.
I just don't. I don't care. My whole life is crashing around me. I don't care if I crash. Well, that's a wake-up call. Like, when we start to have self-destructive thoughts, that's a wake-up call. So if you're in that mode, you need to reach out for help. So when you really do feel hopeless, and it's just a normal emotion. There's nothing wrong with you when you feel that way. There's nothing wrong. So I bet if you talk to 100 people, honestly, every single one of them would tell you at some point in their life they had self-destructive thoughts, if they were being honest.
Yep.
So if you're feeling that way, it's just normal. We all go through it. But what you need to do is you have to talk to somebody who has hope and who knows the truth that life is going to be brighter. And so, you could probably reach out to David, and David would, I'm sure, be there for you. You could reach out to me and I would certainly be there for you. You call a professional, call a counselor. Somebody is going to be there for you and help you through this really destructive emotion. It's not one you can just get through on your own.
That's 4. Man, I'm on you.
Hey, we're doing 6, right? So
Yeah.
there's 6 that primarily affect this.
Yeah, we're doing 6, but I still want to know what the other 2 are, though, at the
Yeah,
end.
absolutely. So one of the 8 is actually going to be really helpful for getting over divorce. We'll talk about that. The fifth one that's going to be destructive is just feeling emotionally sad, just being hurt, just being like, man, I've lost a lot. I lost everything. My whole life, everything that I was creating forever has just disintegrated. I've lost and I don't even get to see my kids now. Like someone else is going to be raising them. Like I've lost so much. So this feeling of loss and sadness, we can get stuck there and we can actually get into a depression over this idea that we've lost something. To deal with that sadness, we have to understand that, man, change is life. Life is constant change. Nothing ever stays the same. This relationship changed. Every relationship changes. Your life evolves. Sometimes we like the way it changes. We're like, oh, we get an unexpected promotion at work. We're like, oh, I'll take that change. But then sometimes we don't like the way it changes. Like, hey, I just had a divorce. I don't want that change. We can't resist change, whether it's good or it's bad. Resisting change is resisting life. So rather than resisting this change, we need to move into acceptance. And acceptance is saying, I can't change the past. It is what it is. I just have to fully embrace and accept what's here. And from a place of acceptance, we can start to move into some positive emotions. But what usually happens for men is what I do. My go-to is the sixth negative emotion that's going to get to us, is we just get angry about it. We don't want to feel how vulnerable and hurt we are. And so we just cover all that hurt up with resentment, hatred, wanting revenge, wanting them to suffer. And we think we can just cover that hurt up by making them hurt. But man, that's never the answer. What that anger is really doing is it's covering up the vulnerability we don't want to touch. That vulnerability that's saying, man, I'm just really, really hurt. I'm so sad about this. But when I was 5, my personal life, my dad said, men don't cry. And then my older brother was like, men don't cry. And I'm like, well, shoot, I'm a man. I don't cry. And so then I didn't cry, right? So I wasn't in touch with this hurt. So I got angry so fast. Anytime that emotional hurt would come up, I wouldn't notice it because the anger comes back in less than half a second to cover it up. And then you're just like angry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how we deal with the anger is we admit the truth. Anytime we feel anger, we have to ask ourselves, how am I feeling hurt? How am I feeling vulnerable right now?
And that's 6. So there's
That's
2
it,
more.
man.
Yeah, there's 2 more though.
Yeah, there are. So
the
the seventh one that is going to end up being a positive for us, and we'll get to it about how we can use it to our advantage, is lust or desire. And it's lusting for more, it's desire for better, something better. And so that's going to help us on our recovery. We just don't want to get stuck there, because if we stay in that lust and desire, it's insatiable. That's why it's one of the 8 bad moods. But we can use it to our advantage once we get past acceptance and actually start to have gratitude for our life. And then we can start to desire a new life, something better that's even, we can really create a future that's even better than we've ever had. That's the thing about that sadness we were talking about. Like, my life will never be as good. Totally false. My life can actually be 10 times better than it ever was. And I can create it that way. It's a complete truth. And now, David, on the other side of this, that, man, life after divorce can be even better than it was before.
Yeah, definitely.
But we don't know it when we're stuck in that loss and that hopelessness. We think I've lost everything.
The storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the eighth one, just to give it to you, also can be a positive through this, and it's pride. Yeah. But pride is ultimately a bad mood if we stay stuck in it, because pride turns into arrogance and entitlement, and those are not positives. But in the case when we're going through these really low emotions, using that desire for something better and then feeling proud of ourselves for handling ourselves with composure, for giving our ex grace, having pride in the way we act, these 2 negative moods can actually be positive. So everything's relative. But those are 2 things that can actually help us.
Yeah. So are there any pitfalls in search for happiness? I know it's all positive, but it can't be all unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah, man. If you just go to so my book has two halves. The first half is how to conquer
Hmm.
these 8 bad moods. And then the second half is how to choose the 8 primary positive emotions that we're going to talk about next. If we skip over actually healing the negativity, if we just cover up our pain and then we put on a fake happy face and we like do the gratitude journal and we like say all the right things and we do all the things that we like, putting on a fake happy smile, trying to tell everybody it's okay, well inside we're actually like breaking down. Yeah, that's going to be the pitfall. So that's why the first half of the book and what we started with is what are the things that are truly bothering us, and we got to work on those first before we can be happy.
And also another part of that is, and we'll probably touch on this later, is, I think of happiness of having two parts. There's like lasting happiness and there's fleeting happiness. What's a example of fleeting happiness, and why can that be a negative thing?
Yeah, man, fleeting happiness is just pleasure seeking. And when we feel so bad going through a divorce, it's easy to just go to the bar. We go to the bar, as soon as we have a little bit of alcohol, dopamine spikes in our brain, our problems go away, we actually numb our thoughts,
Hmm.
and that's pleasure. Man, it's pleasurable to go to the bar. It's pleasurable to watch a freaking football game with your buddies and drink. And for me, when I was dealing with all these negative emotions, or I was not dealing with the negative emotions rather, but I had them, they kept continuing to show up. Every time I went drinking, I drank to blackout. I had to just black it all out. There was like no other option for me.
Wow.
It was just, I needed to turn it all off. So that's when, and then drugs, right? So that's also something I leaned on, because no one taught me the skill of how to identify these 8 emotions and then how to move past them. My only option was shut them off. And for me, that was drugs and alcohol, and then sex too. Chasing women. That was another way. Like I would feel I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. I'd go find a new mate and I'd be like, oh man, all right, somebody likes me, so I guess I am worthwhile. But again, it's not that underlying feeling of I'm unlovable, I'm unlikable shows
Hmm.
back up. Doesn't matter if you have 10 different girls that you meet in the next few months. Doesn't matter. It's still there. So we got to deal with that. So this pleasure seeking isn't ultimately going to be a long lasting happiness option.
What about that guy who says, "Hey, look, my dad didn't say cry, don't cry. My big brother said don't cry. This happiness notion, it's a crock." What do you say to that guy? Say, "Hey, dude, you need to listen to me. I'm trying to help you." How do you broach that that curb?
When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And when someone's not ready, all we can do is just invite them to a much happier way of life.
Hmm.
And then they can either say, I'm finally ready to do that. And yeah, there's some vulnerable work to do here, and there's some humbleness that's going to come. And I'm going to have to go into some emotions that I don't want to touch, that for whatever reason, society told me it's not manly to feel. But, the way I've been doing it has created so much pain in my life that I've finally experienced so much pain that now I'm ready to do something different and I'm willing to listen. That's the only time that we can help somebody. I can't help anybody that doesn't want help, nor would I even try. It's just pointless.
Yeah. What about the self-care? Self-care is a big topic with me and Rachel. A lot of guys don't practice it. How does self-care come into play with happiness?
I think more guys practice self-care than it just looks different for us. Right? So my wife and I just got a massage. It was our anniversary. We just went for a massage.
Hmm.
And the masseuse was like, when was the last time you had a massage? And I said, probably last year on our anniversary. And she said, you need more massage. Like your muscles are so freaking tense that you probably need a massage every 2 weeks for like the next year. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you for that feedback. And yet massage is not my idea of self-care, right? But what is my idea of self-care? For me, going to the gym, lifting weights, that is self-care for me. I put in some music. It makes me feel good. I start pumping weights. I get positive emotions that are going through me, all these positive endorphins that get released. So taking care of our body is self-care. It doesn't look like going, a woman's version of self-care might be going to the spa or taking a bath. A man's version of self-care might just look different, but it's still self-care. Do you go out and play poker with your buddies? That could be your self-care. That's connection, right? So I just, of course, if all we are is completely selfless and we're taking care of the kids all the time and we're going to work all the time and we're doing all the right things and we feel totally burned out because we're not doing anything that makes us happy, then we need to do some things that make us happy. I just want to challenge the notion that I think more men are doing self-care activities. They just look different than what maybe traditionally women would call self-care.
Definitely. So we're not going to pamper ourselves.
Some of us will. Man, I like a massage. Yeah. I do. It's just for me, if I really want to feel good, it's not going in and sitting in a massage. It's going to the gym. That's what fires me up. It's different.
At the beginning of my divorce, I wore out about 3-4 sets of mountain bike and road bike tires. Just killed them. Just
self-care, man.
Bike.
Right? Yeah. I mean, riding your bike. So one of the, I'm a happiness guy. I teach happiness. The fastest way to happiness is through the physical activity. It's the fastest way. Riding your bike. When you exhaust your body, your mind also becomes, it's not running in circles. Well, we're riding our bike. When we're riding our bike, we're focused on the road. It's almost like a meditation. When I go to the gym and I'm working hard in the gym, I'm not thinking about all the stuff that's going wrong. I'm focused on the gym. And that's like a meditation, and it is a key to happiness. It does make us happier when we work out.
Yeah. What about the supporting village? I'm a big villager person, but you gotta pick the right villagers. Everybody's not a supporting cast member. How do you incorporate happiness with the supporting village?
Yeah, the first thing is that you make David one of your 5 people in your life, and you listen to this podcast, and you consume it.
Oh yeah,
I'm serious, man. For me, when I'm going through hard times, Jim Rohn said, you are the 5 people that you hang around most. And I'm like, and when I didn't have 5 people that I thought would be exactly who I wanted to be, he then said, one of those 5 people can be somebody you don't even know personally, but you're just consuming so much of their positive content that their voice is one of the loudest 5 voices in your head. Wow. So listening to this podcast is part of the village, right? Putting in some positive podcast material or listening to positive, uplifting books or reading positive, uplifting books, that is part of your village. Now, I know we need real connection too. So, one of the exercises I teach is to rate your friends on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, that's got to be good. That's a good one.
I rate my friends. I did this when I first did this exercise. I'm like, okay, I'm hanging around people that are not making me the ideal version of me. I'm hanging around people that are making me who I am right now. And I don't want to be who I am right now. Who I am right now is messing things up. He's going to the bar all the time. He's using drugs every single day. And I'm like, well, what are my influences? What are they all doing? I'm like, oh, okay, they're all like me, but I don't want to be this guy anymore. I want to be this guy. And so then I'm like, who's here? Who's prioritizing their health and fitness? Who's got an amazing relationship rather than cheating on their spouse? Who's like so faithful to their spouse? And because if we hang around a bunch of people that are cheating on their spouse, it's way easier for us to do that because it's just the normal behavior.
People.
Yep. So I rated my friends on a scale of 1 to 10 in 5 different areas: health and fitness, relationship, financial, spiritual, and it just 1 to 10. Like, where are they 1 to 10? And then I'd average them up and I'm like, okay, anybody that's below a 7, I need to limit from my village. Anyone that's above a 7, 8, 9, or 10, I want to increase the time I spend with them. And I only had 2 guys. Like my village was 2 people, you
Okay.
know? And I'm like, okay, well, what's cool now is now I've opened up my life. I've created space to fill in with a couple more 8s, 9s, or 10s.
Hmm.
And you end up doing it. If you're intentional and you want to create those relationships, you will find a way to find those people.
Wow. We can circle back to the beginning where we talk about the happiness blueprint.
Mhm.
What does that look like?
So, happiness, lasting happiness, this joy that you had talked about
Hmm.
earlier, we feel. I'm going to take us through a little exercise, and David, I'll just ask you to play along if you don't
Okay.
mind. Think of a really, really joyful day, like a day where you just felt on top of the world. What was a day where you just felt like, man, life is so good right now? What was a day like that for you?
When my first kid was born.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
It's her 11th birthday today. My first.
God, mine's 31, dude. Ouch.
My daughter, we've got 4 kids. My oldest is just turned 11 today, and the youngest is 2.
Just
Uh,
wait, buddy. You're in for a ride.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited about it. Man, we actually, so if you want to know what's crazy, dude, I've got 13 11-year-olds coming over tomorrow for a 14-person sleepover. The decibel level in this house is going to be like the windows are going to break with like how loud the screams are going to be. These girls are going to be going crazy. No
Great
sleep.
memories. Oh my
No
God,
sleep
great.
will be had.
Oh,
So, okay, so the day, and so I can relate to this so much because we were just telling Harper today about the day she was born and like how excited we were. And if you're listening, think what was a day that you felt like on top of the world, just so joyful. All of these days have the same thing in common. Internally, we love our reality exactly as it is. On those days when we feel on top of the world, we don't want to change a thing about reality. We are just so excited for a reality how it is.
hmm.
That's the blueprint for happiness. So any day that we love our life exactly at like love it. Not, oh yeah, my life's okay or my life's pretty good except this little thing or that little thing is messing it up. No. Any day you just are thrilled, ecstatic with your reality, you are insanely joyful. And it's the level of your happiness and your love with your reality exactly as it is without wanting to change it is your level of happiness. So the day that your first child is born, like it doesn't matter if it's hot outside, it doesn't matter if it's raining outside, it doesn't matter if you've got a sore ankle or whatever. None of that little stuff matters because you're just thrilled with reality, right? You don't want to change any of it.
Definitely.
So now let's reverse engineer this. We're going through divorce and I don't like it. I wish it wasn't happening. I wish this, I wish that, I wish that. All right, so we need to change it. We need to change into how can I love this current reality exactly as it is and be so enthusiastic and so just thrilled with my life. Well, the first step is we got to dive into those 6 bad moods we talked about. And if you want some help with it, get the Good Mood Revolution book. I got exercises to get out of them.
Hmm.
Reach out to me. I can help you through them if you want, or just work on them through yourself, right? Once we deal with those emotions, then we have to move to responsibility and humility. These are the first 2 good moods. We have humility to say, okay, this is me. I have at least partly created this. I'm
Hmm.
humble enough to say I've made some mistakes, and then I'm going to take responsibility for everything that's happened. It's all on me. It maybe I didn't do it. It doesn't matter if she cheated on you and whatever took the kids. It doesn't matter. You can say now it's my responsibility today to make this life as good as I can make it. And so as soon as we stop playing the victim, we say, all right, maybe I made some mistakes that led to this. That's humbleness. And then we say, I am responsible today for me and my happiness. Then from that point, we can move to full acceptance. I fully accept what's happened. I accept it. I don't want to change it. It is what it is. From acceptance, we move to the next positive mood, which is gratitude. And we start to say, I'm still alive. My kids are still alive. I still have an opportunity today to make a difference. I still, like, God, I am grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful for today. Like, I'm grateful for all the blessings I have. Like, if you think about it, your problems are someone else's dream life. If you live in the United States, your problems are what somebody would aspire to as the best life they ever could have. You could have gratitude for how amazing your opportunity is today. From gratitude, if we can get there, we can start to then say, well, I'm actually grateful I'm going through this divorce. Like, I'm grateful for it. The marriage, it wasn't what was right for me. It wasn't my highest and best future.
Flip the script.
Mm-hmm. We flip the script and we start to say, you know what? This is actually helping me grow into a better version of myself. Without this divorce, I wouldn't have the opportunity to go meet my dream person. And they're out there. And so I'm actually grateful that that relationship ended so I can go have the best life of my life, right? And then once we get to gratitude, then we can move into, oh my God, I actually love exactly where my reality is right now. And then we're on fire and we're joyful again. Now that's just a progression and it is a blueprint. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy to follow. And that's why sometimes we need a coach and we need somebody that can walk us through it because our own beliefs are getting in the way. But all of us have access to this blueprint. All of us could follow it. And all of us could have absolute joy and happiness, even going through a hard divorce.
Wow. Well, Matt, we could talk all freaking morning, but my men over 40 have about a half hour attention span. I've learned that the hard way, but we're going to circle back, man. We got to do this again, maybe a couple of times, because I think we just scratched the surface.
Oh man,
so, but
it's just such an honor to be here and talking with you, David.
Yeah, that was interesting, very interesting, because I think we just scratched the beginning. But yeah, my men out there are struggling, and I try to convey to them that there's hope and happiness. Yeah. What's the dichotomy or relationship with hope and happiness? There we go. That's the question.
1,000%. Yeah, actually, that was one of the notes I took that I wanted to share today.
Okay.
Is that if you want a better present, get a bigger and better future. And anytime we make our future bigger and brighter and better, today gets better. So that is hope. When I have hope that tomorrow is even better than it's ever been, today gets even better. In the absence of hope, though, we move into that emotion of hopelessness, that it'll never be as good. And that's just, by the way, our future could be totally crap if we choose to think it's going to be, or our future could be freaking awesome if we choose to think it's going to be. Either way, we're going to create what we believe. So let's believe it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, don't throw those notes away, Matt, because we're coming back. So
I'd love it, David.
That was interesting. You know, the joy about podcasting and first meeting somebody, you never know how it's going to turn out. And most of the ones I've only had a couple of duds, and man, just trying to pull stuff out of people. But that was interesting. But most of the people I met, like you, just you're so surprised once you get into it, and then it becomes two friends having coffee. And then we're talking and talking and talking. But yeah, we want to thank Matt for hanging out with us, and we're definitely going to have him back. And we wish good thoughts for all our men out there over 40 through divorce. And like I said, we just scratched the surface here, so we're definitely going to have Matt come back for another 30-minute session.
David, I appreciate that. And if anyone is looking for one-on-one coaching, reach out. mattoneil.com is the spot you can reach me, and it would be my honor to talk with you, even if it's just a 15-20 minute talk just about where you're at, and send you some positive vibes.
Yeah, and we're going to have Matt's connections at the bottom of the show notes, like we always do, and want to have everybody have a good Labor Day. Those that celebrate Labor Day, all that good stuff, and we hope Matt has a good party.
It's gonna be great.
We're gonna throw Matt some prayers. All right, everybody, have a good night. Bye-bye.